I'm coming to the end of my big buck era in hunting.
Sure.
And I'm now coming to more of a kids, fill tags, fill freezer. And I think I'm going to actually enjoy it more than my big buck era.
What is up, everybody? Mark on the mic. Across from me, we are joined by my very good friend, Mr. Dan Johnson. Dan, this is kind of, I'm just going to say it, this is like a tradition now.
It is. 3 times is a tradition, right?
I mean, I think even 2 you're getting there, but 3, like we've established something.
You're in, yep.
And that's a good thing because I look forward to this all year long. We get to visit, hang out like we're going to do today. We go out for a nice dinner.
Yep.
I probably haven't had a nice dinner like that since the last time we had a nice dinner. So it was a lovely date with yourself and some of the other folks here at Vortex. And I might still be processing the steak from last night because we're podcasting, pretty early this morning.
Yep.
But just an awesome time.
Man, I tell you what, I really enjoy coming up here for multiple reasons. Like, it's good to catch up with all of you. Every time I step into the Vortex facility and the New Edge facility, I'm blown away. I go, I wish I had this. I wish I could work. I wish I could be more involved with the Vortex and live closer. Even though I'm only 2 hours away, right? I wish I could come here daily, right? It's an awesome place, awesome people, and I haven't met, honestly, this is God's honest truth, I haven't met a unlikable person at Vortex since however long I've been working with you guys. So it's always fun, dude. I love coming here.
We enjoy it too, and that's a very, very kind words, and probably about as good a compliment as a company can receive. Like,
right.
Man, those are actually pretty nice folks over there.
Right.
For those who might not be familiar, like I said, Dan Johnson, Sportsmen's Nation podcast,
Sportsmen's Empire.
Sportsmen's. I always want to say
it's all good, dude.
But I will say, and I think some of this is a rehash because of my flub of the words this morning. But Empire, that's bigger anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I said. I need something to where I can just change a word and not necessarily the entire brand. And so Empire, they're bigger.
Yeah. So Sportsman's Empire Podcast. What is... For those who might not be familiar with it or haven't found it yet, what is the Sportsman's Empire Podcast Network?
So really, it's just a collective of a ton of outdoor-themed podcasts. I mean, we have a lot of state-specific ones. So like Michigan. We have a Michigan Wild. We have a Missouri Woods and Water podcast that, they come out every single week. So we have region specific. We have the Mid-Atlantic Outdoorsman. That's region. We have a Wing and Tail Boys, and they are like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, up into the Northeast. A lot of conversations there. We have the Western Rookie podcast, and that is a podcast basically dedicated for really all Western hunters, but a lot of the focus is on guys who travel to the West. So maybe really anybody who does Western non-resident hunts. Okay. We have that part, like a subsidiary of the Sportsman's Empire is the Hound Dog Network. And that is all like coon hunters, hound breeders, like things like that. We got a lot of, coon hunting type content. Man, and the list goes on. We have the Pennsylvania Woodsman. We have, in my opinion, and I'm real. Like when I tell you something, I'm telling the realness of this.
Dan, that is one thing I always appreciate from you. You speak from the heart.
Exactly. And so then I have, in my opinion, and it's pretty damn true, the best habitat podcast. Period. So if you're a food plot guy, if you're into like deer management, it's called the Whitetail Landscapes Maximize Your Hunt podcast. It's the best. Period. So if you're a land manager and you want to talk to this dude, oh my God, the dude is so smart. And I have several of those types of podcasts, not habitat, but just high quality, high knowledgeable people having podcasts on this network. And I'll put my content that we put out up against anybody out there. and that's, maybe being a little biased, but still, man, we really try hard to curate a lineup of podcasts that aren't just junk and it's not repeated. It's, obviously there's some repetition in it, but dude, the hosts of some of these shows are so knowledgeable in what they do. It's awesome. It's just awesome.
Man, that's super cool. I mean, it seems like a lot of, regional content. So, we talk a lot about hunting whitetail deer. You talk a lot about hunting whitetail deer, but regionally, like, they're deer, they're whitetails, but there's differences. There's differences in how they're pursued. There's differences in terrain. Like you said, is it a highly managed property? Is it public that's getting a ton of traffic? And so everybody's dealing with different things, pursuing the same critter. So that's really cool to have that regional component, and then just some hyper-focused vertical niche stuff.
Yep.
And that can be the stuff that's hard to find.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, so, I don't know. I mean, for example, the Habitat stuff, the Habitat podcast, with the knowledge base that this guy brings, his name's John Teeter, and he's not like a big, bold personality who's almost there because of the personality. The dude is an architect of land. He's an architect of hunting properties, and he is just very detailed, talking about very niche things that nobody else is talking about, but it's one of the most popular podcasts on the network because of that.
Right.
So, and he's based out of the Northeast, but I'll tell you this, he is, his principles and stuff that you can learn, just like all the podcasts, you can take with you to wherever you're at, whether you're a coon hunter in the South or a coon hunter in the North, whether you're a whitetail hunter in Iowa or you're a whitetail hunter in Georgia, or whatever the case is. A lot of the conversations may be niche, but the principles can then be distributed to wherever you're hunting.
Mm-hmm. And so that habitat management one, he's out of the Northeast?
Yeah, he's out of New York.
That's interesting. Okay. Well, no, that makes sense to me. Because when I think of, in general, when I think of the Northeast, I think, big woods and, tracking and things like that. But I've never hunted I've never been to New York, actually. But you do hear about some of those regions. You always kind of picture the city, but then you hear like, oh no, there's a lot more than that going on there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm very happy with where we're at and the amount of content that is put out on a weekly basis. I do got to do a shout out, and I don't know how this will be received, but there's this stereotype of what the North American hunter is. Okay. If I said to AI, right, show me an image of the North American hunter, right? What describe the image that AI kicks back to you?
Gosh, Dan, I don't know. I figured it'd be a couple of regular dudes like you and me and some camo with a bow or a rifle.
White males, right? Yeah. Like white dudes with whatever. So my buddy Courtney out of Kentucky, he has a podcast that is called We Do This Too.
Okay.
And so he's just like, hey, dude, I got this idea for a podcast. I'm a black dude. And I love hunting and fishing in the outdoors too. I love shooting guns and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's a great idea. And so I brought him on to the network as well, just to showcase that it's just like, dude, it's more than white dudes loving whitetail hunting, right? This outdoor thing is for everybody. And so we have these other little sub niches of like another niche podcast, right? And so I'm trying to curate shows where there's something for everybody, and no matter who you are or where you live. I mean, there's dudes that live in big cities, and then there's dudes that live in the middle of nowhere. So, and then everybody has a little different view on all that stuff, and I'm trying to get a well-rounded approach to the outdoors.
For sure. And a lot of broadening the scope of and bringing people into the hunting fold. It's an exposure thing, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you have, a mentor or somebody to show you the ropes a little bit. I mean, there's a lot to take in. We were podcasting the other day. even just the regulations. My goodness, like sorting out the regulations. Like, what other activity comes with a rule book?
Yeah.
I mean, I know we have sports and there's rules, but they're like, whoa, we got to do this, and it's like this, by
and they
county
change
or
every year.
And it changes every year, and you got to stay up on it, and even that can be a hurdle. But I mean, heck, it's a hurdle for it's hard to keep track of.
Yeah.
The conversation we were having, I was like, man, I follow this stuff intently, right? But then you have an interaction with the game warden in the field, and you're like, all right, I think I did everything right.
Yep.
Now it's time for the exam.
The exam, yeah, right. Exactly.
Here we go, the final test. Let's see. No, that's cool. Well, speaking of, kicking out content on a regular, consistent basis, you yourself have the Nine Finger Chronicles podcast. You have a few other podcasts as well, all with a pretty strong cadence. So, I mean, let's start with the Nine Finger Chronicles. Like, what's that podcast about? What subjects are you hitting on? What's the vibe? What's going on there for a person that might be like, oh, I want to tune in and see what's going on?
So the recent vibe. Okay, so first off, I want to go way back, right?
Okay.
So the Nine Finger Chronicles podcast, I've been doing it for 10 years now.
It's crazy.
Crazy. I looked at I don't really follow the number of episodes that I've done, but I was just curious. I knew that I've been podcasting for 10 years, and I wanted to look at the number.
That's a long time, man. I mean, that's a fairly early adopter of the platform for, distributing content.
Yep, absolutely. And so, I think I started in 2014, maybe mid-2014.
Mm-hmm.
And so, 24 was my 10th year, and so I looked the other day, and it was like 957 episodes or something like that, or something along those lines. I'm just like, how much talking that is, and recording time that is, and editing and things like that. And so I got to figure out what I'm going to do for my 1000th episode. Like, I got to do something big, right? And so that's coming down. That'll probably happen later this year or, early 26. But, it used to be like being an early adopter, I had the privilege of being able to do a lot of things for the first time in the outdoor podcast, like talking to certain people for the first time, talking, kind of showcasing conservation, showcasing like hunters, and not just the big names in the industry, but just regular dudes who were doing the exact same thing as the bigger names, but we're doing it on the weekends. We're doing it I've talked to hundreds of dudes like that, right? That their name will never be mentioned in a conversation or things like that, but they are, right? And so,
I mean, there's so many people out there that, they are masters, absolute masters of their craft, oftentimes not looking for any sort of notoriety. In fact, probably prefer flying under the radar. Mm-hmm. But, they're, if it's on the hunting side, they're just absolute killers. If it's on the fishing side, they're just an absolute stick,
Yep. And they're doing it with probably a quarter of the resources that some of the bigger names. Like, when you think of the whitetail world, and you say, who's shooting the big bucks? It's usually dudes who are on heavily managed properties, and they are putting tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars annually into diesel fuel and seed and habitat management, and maybe even having a farm manager and things like that. That's a lot of cost going into just shooting a deer. Right. And then there is other dudes out there who are killing deer equally of size every year on doing none of that. And for some reason, I respect that way more. I don't know. Let me tell you this. If I was to tell you a story of how a deer is killed, and I said, Mark, this deer was killed. It took all summer. The guy was planting food plots. He was cutting down trees. He was hinge cutting. He was passing 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, because he knew that he had so much property that they weren't getting property cover, shelter, food on his property, that this deer wasn't going to leave, healthy, whatever. And then he sits in a box blind or at the edge of a field at a food plot, and he comes out and he shoots it. Or dude works 40 hours a week. He's trying to catch a cold front in between. He's got a football game on Friday he has to go to watch his boy. And then he has a dance recital on Sunday where he's got to go to his daughter or whatever the case is. And he's got this Saturday window, and he knows that, he's got a pinch point or something crazy, and he gets in there and he gets the job done efficiently. And to me, those stories are so much more impressive to hear how dudes with limited resources are getting the job done, the same job done as the people with unlimited resources.
Well, you can glean a lot of information, know-how, and learn from both.
Right.
But one is certainly more relatable.
Right, absolutely.
And also when you have limited resources, when you have limited time, but you're still making it work, you're still making it come together, you're figuring it out. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot to that.
That's mastering it, right? Mm-hmm. That's mastering it and knowing animal behavior and things like that. So I love showcasing those types of guys on the show.
How do you find some of those guys too, though? Like, how do you hear about them? Because they do fly under the radar.
Yeah. So a lot of times I'll find a guy.
Asking for a friend. We have a podcast too.
Yeah. So I'll find a guy, and that guy knows a guy, right? He's like, dude, I know this slayer. He flies under the radar. He doesn't necessarily want to do anything. And most time I'll reach out to him, and sometimes they know who I am. Sometimes they don't. And I'll be like, hey, dude, I just want to tell your story. And they're cool with it, right? They're cool with going on and telling the story and things like that. Now, if they're a serious public land guy, they may be a little weary, thinking that, I might try to ask questions about where they hunt and get information. But if they're we don't really even talk about that. We talk about the terrain and how you adapt as a hunter to the terrain or the environment that you're in. But I'm not going to ask, tell me the road that this piece of public is on. And, we're not going that in depth into it. But we get into the strategies. But a lot of it is, hey Dan, I got a guy you should record with. And I find them, and they're pretty happy to come on and tell their story, and then they split and go back to their normal day.
Of the 9 to 5, the kids, the family, the sports. And
That's a fact.
Figuring out how to kill deer.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a lot of the conversations on the Nine Finger Chronicles in the past have been really heavily focused on strategy, a lot of hunter profile stuff with Average Joes. Now I'm getting into a stage of this podcast which is more fun for me, because I've talked literally about everything a guy can talk about. I mean, you talk about a strategy in a location, I've talked about it. I've talked with the biggest names in the industry. I've talked with the small, the nobodies, people that we don't know. I've talked, to companies through the Hunting Gear podcast. The How to Hunt Deer podcast is a very basic beginner level podcast.
And that's a different podcast that you do.
Yes, a different podcast that I do. And really the goal there is, if you are new to hunting or if you are interested in getting into it, this is the one you pick up and listen to, because it's very basic. It's not like, I'm not going to sit here and have a 1 hour conversation about thermals and, predominant winds and how to hunt specific terrain features in different times of year based off of if there's vegetation on the trees. It's very low key. We're this is a cold front. Cold fronts mean you should get into the woods, right? Studies show that, more deer move on cold fronts, whatever, very basic, introducing people to hunting. And yes, we do every once in a while stair step up and talk about something pretty detailed, but then we'll come right back down and try to have information for all levels of hunters.
Well, and we were talking earlier about bringing people into the fold. That's the content that you need starting out.
Absolutely.
Let's distill. It's overwhelming enough.
Yep.
Let's work to distill it down to its simplest form and just give people that starting point. Once you get there, then you can start asking more questions, or you're going to make your own observations.
Absolutely.
And either ask questions, seek out content related to it, or just yeah, I learned that,
Yeah.
and I'm going to add that to my bag of tricks or the things that I know, and you're on your way. But yeah, that's very, very important content. It's easy to overlook the further down the path you get. You kind of forget even what you know. I know when I've taken some new hunters out, you are doing a lot of things, but you've like connected all these dots. And I'm not saying I'm like some sort of expert hunter. I still have these whitetails they're a little bit under my skin the last couple of years. But but you're just like, oh, I should probably explain the why to this, exactly. This, and this, and this, to how we even ended up, let's say, in this tree.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise it just appears, you just climb a tree and go. It's like, well, no. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's important stuff.
And then lately, so I don't want to say I'm suffering from burnout. I think some of it has to do with like midlife crisis type stuff. You know,
sure.
Like, how old are you?
Why are you asking me the hard questions?
You look young.
47.
You're 47.
Yeah.
You don't look 47.
Well, thank you.
You look you look younger.
It's very kind.
Anyway, for me, like I said, I've covered it all in the Nine Finger Chronicles. I've already done it. So like when someone wants to talk to me about like hunting tactics during the rut, advanced, like I've had 10 years of conversations of that. So so I'm kind of having a bit of a midlife crisis on the podcast. So I'm just talking sometimes about random things where I may be talking about 10 minutes of hunting, and then the next 50 minutes are just a tangent of nonsense. And maybe that's good. Maybe that's bad, but
maybe I'm losing my mind.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But what this is I'm starting to realize over the course of the last 3 or 4 years is hunting is just a very, very small part of life, right? And when you come down to it, it's really not that important. That might be a hot take, right? I love hunting. I'm going to try to hunt every year. But
I don't like that take at all.
I know, but you know what I love doing now? Dude, I love coaching my kids.
Yeah.
I love hanging out with my kids. I love, going to sporting events. And, my son, like, he hasn't gone down the hunting path yet, but he has 25 crankbaits that he's never used yet, and he wants to get out and he wants to rip some lips this fall or this spring and summer. And so I'm seeing a shift in where my attention is going, and I think the obvious path that the podcast follows is my life, right? And so I don't want to sit here and be like, hey, dude, hardcore hunting, when I'm not necessarily hardcore hunting anymore. Like 5 years ago, man, I was grinding. I was that guy I was taking tons of trips. I was spending tons of days in the woods. And now, if there's a mid-October hunt, maybe it's October 15th, it's 70 degrees outside, and I have to choose between going to some event with my kids or going into the tree stand. Dude, I'm choosing the other things these days. And so I think that is just the evolution of a serious outdoorsman. Is I'm past the hardcore, like internally I'm still hardcore, high passion, loving, talking, discussing all of those things. But when it comes to where I'm actually spending my time, you realize that at my age, man, you don't have a lot of time with your kids. And there's going to be time to get back in the woods when they start to separate from you. And you're here going, okay, hopefully I've done my job and I've got them excited for the outdoors and they want to continue to come with me. But there is this social life thing that moms and dads don't get to be a part of when your kids get older, and they're not going to want to do all the stuff that I want to do. They're going to want to go a separate way, and that's when I'll be able to go back into the timber more. But right now, I'm just like, I just want to hang out with my kids as much as possible, man.
I mean, that's a good place to be. And
Yeah.
like you said, I think that is part of the natural evolution. I'm finding myself like conflicted by those two things right now. Like as we're talking, because it's like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. Like even coming up here in a few months, it's like, man, of course, you get to our age a little bit and you start to, contemplate your own mortality.
Oh, dude.
How long can I do some of these hunts that I like to do for? Spring bear hunting, for instance, that's what I was going to bring up. Like I love doing that pretty physical hunt. It's like, well, gosh, if I don't do that, like how many? Let's say I had 20 more years of spring bear hunting. Hopefully, I do. Right.
Right.
Well, still, like if you don't go this year, that's 1/20th of your spring bear hunts.
Right.
Gone.
Right.
It's like, I don't know. So but then, like you said, your kids, they get to that teenage mode, which my kids are on the cusp of. I'm probably the grass is always greener. Like, oh, I want to go hunt. And then you're going to be like, oh man, I really wish my kids were home.
Yeah. And I ran into that this year where I didn't think I was going to draw a tag, and I drew it. So I drew 2 non-resident hunts this year. And then obviously my time put into Iowa and, the rut there and the malt, like the 10, 12 days sometimes that I'm in there bouncing. And then, so, I drew 2 tags, and then I was thinking, hey man, I want to try to do a late season hunt in Iowa too. And that never happened because I feel like I spread myself too thin. Here's where I get worked up about it. And I don't know if this happens to you, but you're really excited for an upcoming hunt, right? You get in the car, you drive there, you're, however many hours away. For me, like some of these hunts were 11, 12 hours away of driving. Get out of the truck, you're excited, you unload the truck, you put your head on the pillow the night before the hunt, and you have this extreme amount of guilt come over you. Like, man, hunting is a selfish activity.
It is.
It is. Especially if you're not involving your family with it and you're going on these big hunts. Like, you're doing this just for you, right? Meanwhile, my wife is at home with 3 kids trying to make that work, and obviously it doesn't, right? So there's a lot of frustrating phone calls and things like that happen. And then I have this extreme amount of guilt, like, why am I here? I should be home. And usually that only lasts for about 24 hours because I then am hyper-focused on the hunt, or
right.
I get so tired that I don't have time to fall, worry about things at night. My head hits the pillow and I'm out.
Which there's a flip of that coin too, because when you do get focused on the hunt and you become, at least for me, 100% present in the hunt. Like hunting and fishing are the 2 things that I can do that, where all of a sudden the rest of once I get focused on it, like the outside world's like poof, the noise shuts off, right?
Yep.
Nothing can creep in. It's like I am in my bubble. But then there's also downtime within that time that I can contemplate things, I can think about things, I can find clarity about things, I can make decisions of things that I want to do or things that I want to work on.
Yeah.
Without that outside noise. And so you are, even though you're doing this selfish pursuit sometimes on your own for yourself, there are pluses that you can bring back home to be a better husband, be a better father.
Yeah. And I think it's necessary, especially for men, to step away for just a while to regroup. And whether that's, I don't know, my brother golfs, right? So he steps away, and it's closer, right? So he's home at night, but he gets a couple hours or however many hours to go do a golf thing. Like, I don't do anything. The only thing that I do are these big events, like these week-long trips.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's maybe I need to find something closer to home where I can. I think the love my son has for fishing, or the excitement that he has for fishing right now, is going to be something where we can step out, right?
Right.
And like if I go on these big trips, I get grief. But if I'm going on a smaller trip and taking the kids with me, Like this upcoming 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, we got youth season in Iowa for turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm taking my 2 oldest kids with me. And they are very excited about it. And it's not a big deal because I'm taking them with me. Meanwhile, my wife is going to be at home with only one kid. And that's very doable. And she's going to enjoy spoiling him. And I'm going to be doing the turkey things with. And so anytime you can involve the kids, it's not as, it's almost justifying the selfishness because I'm definitely doing what I want to do. But the kids are also having fun too.
Well, and that is the ultimate dream too.
Oh, exactly.
And I'm working on that. We'll see if it shakes out and I can get my girls like into the outdoors.
Are they? Where are they now?
I probably could have done a better job. I know I could have, but also it's mom's not into it. So there's always the option not to go in a way. One thing that I wish I would have done, and we learn as parents, right? But a lot of folks will be like, well, I don't want to force them into it and have them have a bad experience, and then they won't go. But then if you're always waiting for them to want to, then they're just not going to go, and then they're going to fill their time with other activities and still just not get into it. So what I wish I would have done from a very early age is be like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're going to go do this today, and this is just what we do. Yeah. This is what it's like. It's not an option. It's not a question. It's not, do you want to go? It's like, hey, we're going fishing this morning.
Exactly.
Hey, we're doing this today. So I'm trying to do a little bit more of that. Definitely more difficult now, just with the precedent that's set, and they do have some other interests, and now you have friends that want to come over. Like, well, I'd rather play with my friend. But my hope is, like, at least on the fishing side of things, like, because it's less intense. Less intense.
You can move.
You can move. You can talk. You can do a day trip. We can go fish and we can get ice cream afterwards. Sometimes the promise of ice cream is the catalyst for going fishing at all. But I also and this is me kind of learning and thinking it through. That was my path, and I didn't start hunting. I started fishing. And then kind of once I got old enough, it's like, oh yeah, I can go hunting with my dad. This is great. But I already had that connection to the outdoors.
Right.
I wanted. So
what about this? This is I often feel like the stories that I've heard and the people that I've talked to, if they have a son, like I have 2 sons and 1 daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Right? My daughter's the oldest. I feel like I've equally tried to involve her in the outdoors. And what I mean by that is all my kids equally I'm trying to get them in the outdoors. But I've talked to a lot of people, and maybe they know they're doing it, and maybe they're not doing it. I don't know. They don't know they're doing it, but they try harder to get their sons in, and if they don't have sons, then they are more focused on themselves. Do you feel like you've given your daughters a chance to, like, you've done your due diligence to get them excited about the outdoors, or because they're girls, maybe subconsciously you've kind of slacked at that?
I think just going back to what we just talked about, I wish I would have done it a different way. Because I'm always, hey, do you guys want to go fishing this weekend? Or I'm thinking about going fishing. Do you want to go? And sometimes it's, yeah, I want to go. But then when it comes time to go, so I think going back to it, I wish I would have just done it earlier and gone about it a different way. I certainly don't have an option.
Yeah.
I've got 2 girls, and I also wonder, though, just the way humans are wired, even going back to, early man days where, jobs and things like that were distributed. You have, maybe a hunter-gatherer culture. The men are out hunting. women and children are, on the more hunter-gatherer side of things. At least that's what I gather from what I've been taught in school books. Like, I wonder if there's even like an innate subconscious, we're just kind of wired to like
into
lean
our
that
genetics.
way. Yeah.
I get it. And I think about that a lot because
you're almost like fighting against it. You're like, well, no, I think because we have the luxury in a way these days to have maybe more time to do what we might want to do. It's like, oh no, let's go do some of this stuff.
I will say this from a parenting standpoint, I parent my daughter different than I parent my sons. Like I talk through things more with my daughter than I do my sons. So my sons, I'll be honest with you, I raise them harder than I do my daughter. From a verbal standpoint, from an action standpoint, like I'm harder on my boys than I am my daughter. I don't even know why I'm doing it because there's times where I think about it and I go, am I supposed to do this different? So I don't know but at the same time,
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if that's more of an innate human thing too. Like you're wired to be a protector.
Right. So I have to turn my boys into a version of me so that they then are know how to protect or raise the next group of men or whatever.
Like whatever version of humans we are today.
Exactly.
Like, are you still treating them like, no, you need to be a warrior?
Yeah, right.
And
right.
I don't know.
Let me ask you a question, and this is totally off topic. Have any of your daughters ever been in a conflict in school where maybe they've been bullied or maybe not bullied, but there was another student who came up to them and pushed him around a little bit or was mean to him?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. What was your response? Was your response stay away from them, or was your response, hey, if they do it again, pop them in the nose?
I've said both, but it's depended on the situation.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And that is what I've told my kids. I'm like, hey, just walk away. But if they do it again, stand up for yourself. And they're like, well, I don't want to get in trouble. And I'm like, you're going to get in trouble at school, but you won't get in trouble at home. Like if you defend yourself, right? And so that I know I've said that, but I don't know if that's the right thing to do, right? I feel like this is going to sound crazy, but I feel like there's a place in the world for bullies. Does that make
sure.
sense? Right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, dude, I know that there was an older age when I went into middle school and high school, and I was a low man on the totem pole, and the bigger, older kids, they would flex on me, it push me around a little bit, and you have two options. You can run and tuck your tail behind your leg, or you can learn to stand up for yourself, and maybe that's verbally, or maybe that's a pop, right? But one thing that those guys never did again when I stood up for myself is messed with me.
Right.
Right. And so I'm walking that line right now of because my son has been bullied in the past and by a couple specific kids to where one day he was on the soccer field and the one kid kicked a ball in his face and the other kid, the other kid got on his back and he's wearing a hooded sweatshirt and started pulling up on his hood, choking him. And a teacher had to go. And so this was a multiple event thing. And I told my son, next time he does that, you're a wrestler. You take him down.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. You take him down to the ground. You do a double leg on him, and you punch him in his face. And then it will stop, right? And so I don't know if that's bad advice, but it's the first thing that came out of my mouth.
My brother's son, I think he's 8. He's in super sports kid, like talented kid. And I say that very objectively.
Right.
But one of the sports that he does jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And I've talked to my brother, and his coaches sound amazing.
Yeah.
Like great coaches. And not just jiu-jitsu, but like life. And I think you learn a lot of life skills through something like jiu-jitsu or other sports. And I wish I could remember what the coach said, but he's like, hey, if somebody's bullying you, tell them to stop. And I might be getting this wrong, but it's something to this effect, tell them to stop. If it happens again, tell a teacher or a parent or both. And then if it happens again, that's a pattern, and take care of business.
Yeah.
So I think it's it's a stepped I think a stepped approach is appropriate, and maybe I don't know. I mean, you don't want to see anybody get hurt, but
you got to learn lessons, man. That's what life is about. So here I think what the bullet point here for this conversation is parenting is hard.
Oh, dude, it's
you know
hard.
what I mean?
It's confusing.
And how do you show fairness, and how do you give opportunities fairly to your kids and things like that? My youngest son, he has no interest right now in the outdoors. He is a little soccer nut. He's a play outside with his friends nut. He's a typical kid right now. Right. Immature, laughs at farts,
that's still pretty normal.
You're right. But
maybe that just speaks to our maturity.
Yeah, exactly. Never grow up. And so, but my older two, my daughter's definitely excited about going turkey hunting this year.
That's cool.
Yeah. She shot her first toms last year. We had a little scenario last year where I'm calling in a group of toms. I knew there was at least 2. 4 came in, and they were all like 2-year-old toms. And they, when you see a group of turkeys come in, sometimes they act like a school of fish.
Sure.
Where they're just bobbing and weaving all in the same direction. And they, instead of coming across us, they came to the right of us and then behind us, and they started walking away. And so I had to call them back. So my daughter had to lift the gun up, go around the tree, and then, so I was facing one direction, and she was to the side of me facing the other direction. And I said, "Can you see him? Can you see him?" And she's like, "Yeah, I can see him." And I said, "Put the dot on the head and pull the trigger." Boom. Turkey runs down here, flopping around, and we're like, "Oh my God, this is awesome. This is awesome." And so we step on the head, her first turkey ever. I'm excited. And then I look up the hill, and there's another one flopping around, right? It's hard. It's very hard to separate these, to wait for them to separate for a youngster, things like that. So we had to go, we had to do the right thing, right? So I called the Department of Natural Resources, and I'm like, "Here's what happens. I only have a tag for 1 turkey. We shot 2 on accident." And he was really cool about it. He confiscated the bird. They did whatever they do with it, and it's kind of a little bit of a lesson, but still a pretty cool story where, hey, dude, I shot 2 turkeys with one bullet. And so she's hooked now because of that scenario, and having these birds work up on her and making a lot of noise, and so my son.
Well, it's cool that didn't, partially because she did the right thing, it didn't taint it for her, at least majorly.
Right. It was weird though, because instead of like being there and celebrating this moment, I was like, "Oh, now what?" I have to go through all these legal steps and call them and do this. And I think that kind of took away from the entire experience. But she was still pretty jacked about it, happy with it, and she's got her feathers on the wall downstairs with a picture and the beard and all that stuff. And it was cool because my son saw all that go down, because he was with my my stepdad, so they were with their grandpa, and they were kind of in a different area, and we got it done, and my son got to see her take the pictures and pull the turkeys out of the woods and things like that. And he was like, I think that got him excited for this upcoming season.
Cool.
So this is going to be his first year going out turkey hunting. And I know he's excited. And because he's excited, now I'm excited too.
Oh, 100%.
So, yeah.
Well, and there's so many good lessons really in anything you do that's hard or new. But how many things have you done in your life where essentially the first time you do it, it's perfect?
Right.
Like generally that doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, okay, this was cool. We did this. Oh, I learned a lesson. I really need to think about and pick my shot. So this doesn't happen again. And that's fine. That's how we learn. Like we make mistakes and we learn. That's like, that is the process. Right. That's the best process. It's not always the most fun teacher, but it is the best teacher. I mean, I know the lessons that I learned the best, and the ones that I carry with me are the ones learned the hard way.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool though.
Yeah, it's kind of it's weird how life, everybody tells you should be planning for the future and you gotta, be very organized and things like that. Dude, my life is not organized at all right now.
Chaos.
It is straight chaos with the events and the calendar and then all this stuff. Dude, life is crazy. And I think it's more exciting when it's crazy. You know what I mean? And yes, you can plan and prep for everything, and that's great. But I think if you spice it up a little bit, add a little chaos to it, it's a lot of fun. I don't know. I am. Could I be better at being more organized and things like that? Probably, but I think the chaos keeps you on your toes, and it doesn't give you time to be bored.
That's an extra layer, extra element. I call it the juice.
The juice, yeah. Gotta keep the juice moving.
Kind of, just a little bit of unknown, a little uncertainty, a little chaos. Where we're, how's today gonna go or whatever.
Right.
But one thing that I think is cool, and I'm gonna circle back to some of these content things that we talked about earlier. Yeah. You're in Iowa.
Yep.
And your daughter wrestles. And
yeah.
Iowa. I don't know a whole lot about wrestling. I didn't wrestle. I've had some friends that wrestle. And if you're into wrestling, you're into wrestling. Yeah. But it seems like the state of Iowa is very into wrestling.
Dude,
like strong, hardcore wrestling culture.
It is nuts.
I wish I would have wrestled.
No, yeah, I mean, I wish I would have stayed with wrestling, right? Because there was a time where I was a wrestler, and then all my friends went out for basketball. And my vertical, I don't think I could jump over this coffee cup, if you ask me. Right? I was built to be low to the ground, and that's where God said, "You don't need to fly through the air, right? You're different." And so, I wrestled, in middle school and early high school, and then I said, all my friends are in basketball, and I went to basketball, and I suck at basketball. I sucked at basketball, and so I never went back to wrestling, but. You want to talk about a sport that, number one, in Iowa, that is hugely popular. And here's some quick facts. My daughter's wrestling club, 2 years ago when she first started, I believe there was 19 girls in it. This year, there was over 90 girls in the club. Wow. So you multiply that throughout all these clubs throughout the country, and one of the fastest growing sports in women's sports or girls' sports is wrestling. So much so that there are certain towns in Iowa that are having hard time like putting a squad together for basketball. Because when you think about it, like what kind of attributes do you need to be a basketball player? Maybe have a little height on you, right? And so maybe not everybody's tall. The good thing about wrestling is there is no specific body type. You can be short, skinny, tall, skinny. You can be short, fat, tall, fat, or stocky, whatever. There is no body type that you need to wrestle, right?
Because you have the classes.
Yeah. You got weight classes, and so that evens it out a little bit more. The other cool thing about wrestling is if you want your kid to, it's just such a character building sport.
Like I said, I didn't do it, but right. From what I've seen, observed, friends with kids that wrestled, man, you want to create mental and physical toughness. That's it.
Do you know who Dan Gable is?
I don't.
He is one of the best wrestlers of all time. He coached the University of Iowa Hawkeye wrestling team.
I know I've heard the name in relation to wrestling before.
In the 80s and 90s, I believe he was responsible for 20, I'm probably going to get the number wrong, but 20-some national championships. And within those national championships, just like multiple national champions, multiple-time national champions, right? So he was like this Mount Rushmore figure for wrestling. And so we have that in Iowa. We have this culture in Iowa, and really what it's built is, dude, it's built chaos. Like if you go into the University of Iowa and to watch them wrestle in Carver Hawkeye Arena, you're sitting at sometimes 20, 30,000 people show up for a wrestling meet, right? You do that anywhere else, like the best wrestling program in the country is Penn State, and they don't even bring that many people to there. So the culture in Iowa, like he's kind of built that foundation there, and it's kind of followed from, got the boys programs all where they need to be, and now girls are following suit into that, and it's an awesome awesome programs, a lot of great coaches. It's also kind of going back to raising kids again. Dude, wrestling is a sport where it teaches you discipline, it gives you character. It, like, whether it's a gun or it is someone wanting to start to fight you or something like that, you want to talk about putting somebody in a high pressure situation, and then the only way you come out of it is by staying calm and collective, right? That's a life skill too, right? How to stay calm in high pressure situations, and it teaches you those type of things. If you panic, you're gonna lose, right? So you gotta stay calm, you gotta stay collective, you gotta put yourself in the right position. On top of that, it just keeps kids in great physical shape, and like in today's world where there's just a lot of screen time and there's a lot of processed food and that kind of stuff, a lot of that is parenting, but this pulls kids, like just sports in general, pulls kids away from that, and it's just the next generation of savages, and that's what I feel like. And that's why I have my kids in wrestling, is because whether they want to compete or not, it's just good life lessons. It keeps them active, and it in a way for girls, it's even kind of like a self-defense.
I was gonna say there's definitely a self-defense component.
Yeah,
to it,
self-defense component where, man, like my daughter, there's nobody she should be worried about in her school, right? She could defend herself very, very easily, and then the friendship component with that. We're just talking about all sports here, but some of my best friends are all the kids I played sports with, right? And so, wrestling is just a great sport for teaching kids mental toughness, physical toughness, how to handle pressure, and I'm glad that my daughter has kind of been drawn to that, and she really likes it.
I mean, what's cool is, at least I know when I was a kid, or even in high school, like I think there might have been one girl wrestler, not even at our school, that I was aware of.
Right.
And she was on, like, there was just one there wasn't a girls wrestling team. Like, she was on the wrestling team.
Yep.
Total outlier. People weren't used to it. But it's really cool to see that grow and provide the benefits of it.
Yeah.
For the female demographic. I think that's really cool. So all your kids wrestle?
My youngest son took this year off. My oldest son is in wrestling, but he doesn't want to compete yet. And then my daughter is a savage.
Have you seen them? Have you visibly seen them like learn these lessons along the way and be like, oh wow, like this is working?
Well, yeah. So for example, we just got off the state tournament, coming off the state tournament, and the thing about wrestling is, if you want to be the best, when you step on the mat, you have to go. There's no you don't go backwards. The second you go backwards or you retreat is the second that the opponent sees your weakness, and they'll capitalize on it if they're good, right? And so there is lessons all the time in wrestling, especially just for the sport of wrestling itself, where if you take even a second break, you could lose a match that you are completely dominating, right? So you don't ever want to give your opponent a chance to win. You want to. It's not a sport really where if a football team is up 40 points, they'll put in the quarterback or a new quarterback or rest some guys. In wrestling, your job is to continue to degrade your opponent. I mean, to the point where you're beating them so bad they stop the match, what they call that a tech fall, where you're beating them by 15 points, or you just throw them on the back and you squeeze the crap out of them and you pin them, right? And so it's not a sport where you ride, where there's any riding out. Like you go and your goal is to dominate.
Going back to the lessons too, and this probably, again, this is more of it is a general sports thing, but whatever side of the coin you are on, dominating or getting dominated,
yeah,
lots of lessons there.
Oh, absolutely. And my daughter has been a part of both sides of that, and some of the best lessons come from the losses. Right here, while I'm thinking about it, here's a cool thing. So. And this is a huge opportunity. Like if I'm given a platform to talk about girls wrestling, it is that NCAA has just announced, like last month, that women's wrestling will be the 91st NCAA sport that is going to get a championship.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Cool.
So what does this do? This opens up, like if your daughter isn't in wrestling, maybe they're third grader, fourth grader, you get them in now into wrestling, I can almost guarantee you they will get a scholarship somewhere in the United States and have their college paid for. You know what I mean? Like depending how many, because right now there's not a lot of programs, college programs. I mean, in Iowa, there's a handful because it's Iowa, right? The University of Iowa, Iowa State has just said that they're going to be getting a new program, and all of these other colleges, Big Ten, ACC, all these other programs are going to start to follow, big programs. And so my daughter, I mean, if she plays her cards right, she's going to be able to go to college for free through a scholarship to wrestle. And that's pretty damn sweet.
That's cool.
Giving other opportunities for kids to get their educations paid for.
Yeah, that's super neat. Going back to the hunt fish side of things, though, like you get youths that are, they're what I'd call sports kids, right?
Yeah.
Your tradition, maybe, I don't know. Of course, I don't know. I always go back and forth as far as like, is hunting and fishing a sport? It's like it's a sporting lifestyle. You're considered you're a sportsman, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, well, ball sports, wrestling, whatever. And some of those kids will hunt and fish and do those things, but also the natural world and hunting and fishing for a youth or anybody that's like, maybe that's not my thing. Boy, you can find a home hunting or fishing,
absolutely
in the outdoors. And that can be your space. Maybe you're not a person that is drawn to being around a lot of people all the time. I mean, what better pursuit?
Oh my God, I've never, and that is.
I guess on the flip side, though, my interactions with my friends, like so many of my important ones and the most fun ones, have also been outdoors. Hunting and fishing.
Exactly. And I think if maybe there's a correlation there through sports, like if you want to be successful hunting, you got to be a little tough. You got to maybe sometimes sit out there when it's too cold or walk through that swamp when it's too hot or whatever the case may be. And
keep going even though it seems somewhat hopeless.
Yeah. Or, like I don't know how many times, especially on a Western hunt, when I've been out in the prairie eating wind all day long, right? My snacks and food are gone. My water is real low, if not gone. And I have a 2-mile hike back to the truck and I'm tired. And it's just like up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill. And if you're not mentally prepared for that, it's going to suck worse than if you're, if you are. And so.
Well, and sometimes during it does suck.
It does suck, right? But then I don't ever look back on the car ride home from those and be like, oh my God, was too hard, or that was so hard. You know, all I'm thinking about is either the deer in the back of my truck, or like all the pictures I've taken on my phone, and how much it's like a worthwhile tired. Like it was, I'm beat, but it was worth it.
Yeah, you're never like, man, I wish I didn't do that.
Exactly.
Because you're better, you're tougher, you're stronger, you're more confident, you overcame something. Like just the positives, like
exactly.
It's kind of, I heard somebody in very slight correlation, but somebody, they're like, you never regret the workout that you did.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And kind of going back to what you said, you know, there's certain places and certain species, there is a barrier of entry. But for the outdoors, I mean, Iowa is tough because we don't have a ton of public land. Right? We're 98, I believe, % private ground. And then all of the other public land that we have is, you know, especially for deer hunting, it tends to get packed, right? And so there might be a little barrier of entry as far as access is concerned. But really, when it comes to, like, wrestling is a low barrier of entry sport. You need a pair of wrestling shoes to get started. That's really it. And sometimes kids don't even have that, and they're just wrestling in their bare feet. That's a pretty low barrier of entry. The outdoors, especially fishing, is a very low barrier of entry. You don't need a ton to get started with. You need maybe a hook and a bobber, and maybe some worms and a pole, and that's it. And you know, hunting, the way you hunt could determine that barrier of entry, but still, there's opportunities out there for people who don't have a lot of means to get started in some of that, secondhand guns and bows and borrowing stuff from friends. And like, I have a garage full of stuff that I could possibly sell, but I'm probably just going to hand it out to a guy I know who, I don't know if he's a cheapskate, but you know, like, I have it, he wants it, I'm going to give it to him, and he's going to hunt more because of it, and maybe get his kids involved too. So I don't know. There's a lot of ways out there to get out and enjoy the outdoors, for sure.
For sure. And, you know, there's different types of hunting, too, that have different elements to them. Like, if you're the person that just thrives on camaraderie, maybe you're more of a waterfowler. If you're, you know, kind of a solitary lone wolf, you know, maybe you're more of a public land tree stand deer hunter. And then there's everything in between.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think the hunting industry, or the hunting industry and the hunting community, I think we need more of that. I think we need more camaraderie. I think we need to take the focus off of the antlers. I mean, which is hard to do. Imagine trying to break that cycle in the hunting community and being like, hey, dude, I understand that you have 200 acres all to yourself and you're trying to grow big deer on it, but let somebody else hunt on it too, right? Like, you know how hard that would be to get that message across, because people are so intent on shooting bigger, like big old antlered deer.
Well, and I mean, that is tough too. I mean, you have put in so much work. You are invested so heavily, time, energy, and financially.
Right.
You know, that can be a difficult thing to share.
Yeah.
And you might be, I don't know, I could look at it both ways, because you could be potentially, it could go both ways. You could spark somebody into this lifelong, life-changing pursuit.
Yeah.
But you could also be taking things away from them because they didn't do the things to get there themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just thinking about, like, Iowa, for example. Man, every time a farm is sold in certain parts of the state, it seems to be to a serious outdoorsman or a non-resident. Okay. And so what happens then is we have hunters that get kicked out of that farm. There's displacement, right? So the amount of acres a single hunter requires to hunt is going up at one end. And then at the bottom end of that spectrum, we have all these other hunters who are getting displaced, having to be forced into sharing ground with other hunters. So that hunter per acre is going up and or public is becoming very crowded, okay? And so there's probably a group of people out there who's like, boo-hoo, it's Iowa. But what you don't understand is those people have an option. They need to change their experience or their expectations. Or what's happening a lot is a lot of people just they're not going back to hunting.
Wow.
Yeah. And so there's an aspect there that I think it's really dangerous in the pursuit of big antlers, right? And how do you get big antlers? You have lots of property and you let trigger control and you do habitat work, right? I mean, it's basically removing all the pressure off of the property, letting the deer survive until it hits a certain age class or antler size, and then you're shooting it, right? And so there's a lot of displacement, I feel, in the hunting space. And then, so here's the deal. Obviously, on private land, you can do whatever you want, right? But there's a lot of people that don't hunt private land. They hunt public land, or they don't own land, or they rely on permission on private ground to hunt, right? And so if hunting, what I'm worried about is hunting is only going to be accessible to certain financial classes
just
of people.
Kind of continuing to become more and more exclusive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so,
I mean, I find that now too. It's like, we're talking about going on an out-of-state hunt. It's like, just the tag alone to buy an elk tag oftentimes or put in and draw. If you draw, it's about a G. It's like, that's not realistic for a lot of people.
No, absolutely not.
But then I'm also a big proponent of, hey, supply, demand, market price. Like I believe in these things too, but it gets tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's one of those things where, as a hunter, I don't necessarily want more hunters in the woods ruining my experience. Right. But at the same time, in order for certain rules and regulations and laws to be passed and defended, we need numbers of hunters to vote for our rights. Right. And so what we're doing is we're making it exclusive. We're requiring more acres per hunter. The hunters that are getting displaced are leaving, and then now we don't have the votes. So it's this circle of maybe things that aren't going right. And I don't know. One of my thoughts is that it is giant antlers are driving this. Right. And so,
I can see that argument.
Instead of filling tags and having fun and maybe going after the meat a little bit, it's more. There's a lot of I'm here to manage a whitetail herd and shoot the biggest buck, and I'm not going to share this ground with anybody else. So I don't know. That's just a thought. There's several layers to that onion, but it's just a thought.
Well, and I definitely see where you're coming from, and then I think, along with that, as you grow as a hunter, it's natural to be like, maybe your first year out, you don't get a deer.
Yep.
Maybe the next year, like, oh my gosh, I shot a spike. Yep. And then the next year, you're like, wow, I learned a lot. I've got more time to hunt this year, so maybe I'm going to try and get a bigger buck this year. I think that's also a natural human thing to want to perfect your craft.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about sports. You don't go out and expect to. Your goal isn't to maintain the level that you were at the first year. Yeah.
No, I get that, and I am also self-admittedly a hypocrite on some of this stuff too. Right. So I mean, I share some farms with some other hunters, and we've worked it out, and it's great. I don't necessarily want more hunters on that farm because it then becomes more difficult to hunt because there's other people on it. And, at the same time, I also like big giant bucks, and I try to hunt big giant bucks every year too. You know what I mean?
Right.
I travel for them. And so I'm a hypocrite. It's, I don't know. I'm doing it now because it's available to me, but I'm not necessarily sure I would be so worked up if the landowners were all of a sudden said, you know what? I think I'm going to have some other people hunt this year, and maybe it's a kid or a dad and a youngster, I think I'd be okay with that. And I think I would also be okay. I think what's happening here is I'm coming to the end of my big buck era in hunting.
Sure.
And I'm now coming to more of a kids, fill tags, fill freezer type era of my hunting career. And I think I'm going to actually enjoy it more than my big buck era, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Well, it starts going back to, you start circling back, and I'm getting there a little bit myself, to the purity of why you fell in love with it in the first place.
100%. Dude, hunting saved me. Yeah. I mean, like, I was a drunk. I was an idiot. I was providing nothing to society, right? And I went out one day into the woods in like 2006 or 7 on an October day. It's beautiful, a perfect October day. The colors in the trees were all there. And I said, I want to do this as much as possible, and I cannot do this if I'm drunk or hungover,
right,
or feel like shit. Right? Mm-hmm. And so, in a way, hunting kept me out of the bars, kept me out of all of these negative situations, and it put me in a more positive path in life.
Right.
And so I owe that. I personally owe that to hunting, and my goal is to tell that to as many people as possible. Dude, it's a healthy lifestyle. It's an awesome lifestyle.
Well, I think that's why we want, our kids to get involved with it, because we know how important it was to us.
Right.
We know, it's shaped me as a person. We know the lessons. We know the things we've gotten to see.
Yeah.
Engaging with the natural world, which I think is something we do less and less and less. And I'm guilty as charged. I got my head in my phone way too much.
100%.
And you want to give that gift to somebody else, and you want them to be able to carry that through their life as well. I think it's important too. I mean, a lot of these things, things are getting lost along the way. Like even, like I keep saying for years, I want to get into trapping. Like there's not a ton of trappers anymore,
no.
Right? It's like these lost arts in a way that are really so important.
Absolutely.
That you might need someday.
Absolutely.
I do want to circle back to the content a little bit and your personal hunting strategy. Yeah. Earlier you were talking about the podcast, how many podcasts you've recorded. I mean, nearly 1,000 just on the one podcast. Yep. Like that's a staggering number. You've talked to everybody about the strategies. You're like, we try not to be redundant. One thing though that I think, just because you've done it, you've talked about it and recorded it and you checked the box, like your audience, not all of your audience heard that podcast.
Right.
And also the other thing with that is it never hurts to revisit, because I would imagine you recorded podcasts early on, maybe even accepted a strategy or a methodology or something as like gospel.
Right.
And then 5 years down the road, you're like, man, I don't think that at all anymore.
Right.
So, you can always update that stuff. And then the other thing, somebody might hear, even if it was the exact same podcast, this listener might hear it for the very first time down the road. And then along with that, it never hurts to get a refresher. Like I'll listen to 500 podcasts about deer hunting, right? This guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. A lot of the information might be the same. But I like that too, because I'm like, okay, that reinforces, right? It's kind of a corroborative evidence. And then you'll listen to this one, you're like, yeah, but this guy's got this twist. Like, I like that little twist, or I've seen something similar. And that corroborates that. You're like, okay, well, now that's a pattern that I can key in on.
And that's why I love talking to regular dudes throughout the course of, because like the bigger high profile people, they pretty much do the same thing every year, right? It's just repeated. Average Joes, maybe they gain a property, lose a property. They're in a constant state of motion when it comes to trying to figure out a property. And they can bring principles from what they've learned throughout the course of their life being a hunter into a new farm. and like there's always this foundation of principles, but at the same time, you got to tweak something every single year. I don't know how many times, like, for example, this last year, there's cattle in a pasture now that there's never been cattle in. I got to adjust my strategy because the deer aren't walking through the pasture anymore. They're staying on the outskirts of the fence, in the timber, and they're running, they're taking a different path. So I have to adjust to that. All these small little adjustments every year are equally as important as the foundational, the principles. But that's why I love talking to all these guys, is because one thing you learn is there's more than one way to kill a deer, dude. Right? More than one way, whether that's a food plot thing, whether that is a thermals, whether it's terrain features. Like, I'm a huge fan of hunting staging areas in late October and November, right before they get to the destination food source. They chill there for a second. That's my favorite spot. And then you got guys who are, hey man, I'm a rut travel corridor guy. I'm a downwind bedding guy. I am a pinch point guy. I found all of my success, and I've mastered hunting the first week of October versus the guys who are, my favorite time of year is post-rut. Whatever the case is, there's a dude who has mastered something very specific, and I love finding those guys and talking to them about it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What's your current whitetail strategy look like? And are there some things that you were doing that you don't do anymore?
Yeah, so
and maybe some new things that you are doing.
Yeah, so I'll just start with the new things that I feel have played a role into micro adjusting my strategies on a hunt basis, and that would be a saddle. So I have bad knees and I have a bad back, and I'm just old now. Like, I'm getting old and I'm beat up.
Wear and tear.
Yep. And so I sit in a lot of small tree stands, but I also have started using a saddle as an additional tool for my basically my arsenal of gear that I use.
I like how you're saying additional tool, because we don't have to tribalize our equipment. Like, there are times where, like, I love saddle hunting. There are times where it is the answer.
Yep.
I'm a big fan. Like, I love climbers. Like, I'm a big climber guy. If I can get up in a climber, I think there's some advantages there. If the trees in that area predominantly allow for that. And then hang-ons too. It's like you're
you
talking
don't
about.
Have to do it a certain way. You can do it however you want.
Right. Well, and sometimes, like, they're just depending on where I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm bringing this set of kit. Oh, if I'm going over here, I'm going to bring this set of kit. So
yeah.
Anyway, I just like how you said, like, it's a tool.
Yeah. I don't even wear a safety harness anymore. I wear my saddle even when I'm sitting in a tree stand.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And so that allows me to take pressure off my knees and lean back a little bit for a while. And if I get tired of leaning back, I'll sit down. Or there's times where, hey man, I'm going in for a surgical strike. It's just a saddle and a platform, right? And I'm going right in, and I have a good idea where this deer's coming in and out, and maybe it's a real tight pinch point, and I'm gonna go right there, right? But I'm not solely a saddle hunter. I'm not solely a tree stand hunter. I mean, I hunted multiple times from the ground this year too. So I am a hunter who likes to take the best. Who when it comes to strategy, I want the best possible strategy, and that can't be confined to a definition of what gear I use. So, if that makes any sense.
No, makes perfect sense. Yeah, I totally agree 100%. So you're running a saddle. That's something new.
That's something, it's
newish.
Newish, yeah. So I've been running a saddle for about 4 years now.
Okay.
And I just keep finding myself using it more and more, really. It's great for non-resident hunts. I mean, you don't have to take a ton of gear in with you. You can hunt low to the ground. Like, there's so much versatility with it that I really like. That's from a gear standpoint. Strategy standpoint, one thing that I used to do, and I believe that I don't do anymore, is overhunt. Like, I am now, from a scheduling standpoint, kid standpoint, I was forced a little bit to back off, but what it's done is I feel like it's resulted in me becoming a more efficient hunter.
A little more surgical.
And so that's where I used to boom, go in, boom, go in, boom, go in. Now I'm just almost, I try to put myself in a position for a kill every hunt, but I don't have a problem hunting off. Like this year, I hunted off a couple hunts, got my binos up, just watched them creep through the woods, watched where they were coming in and out of, watched where they were popping out of the woods, and then the next time the wind was right, I'm right there.
Gotcha.
I'm right there. Whether they showed up or not, that's on them, but I'm there.
I mean, that's can be a hard thing to do when you do have limited time, and you know for that day that you're putting yourself in a spot where it's likely not going to happen that day, and you are burning that time, but you also are putting yourself in a way better spot the next time.
Yeah, and especially when you're hunting specific deer, right? Like I have a bucket. I don't necessarily have one deer I'm trying to hunt. I have a bucket of deer that I'm trying to hunt. And in order for me to, I mean, you're going to strike out statistically at some point. You're not going to hit a home run every single hunt time you go into the woods. And so hunting a bucket of deer is more of a chess move than it is a checkers move, right? So you may have to sacrifice something to get into the position that you want, or maybe hunt off, wait for the wind to shift. Kansas this year was a perfect example of that. I wanted to get into this pinch point / bedding area on this creek running through here, this area, and the wind was out of the southwest, and I needed it out of the west or northwest because it was going to switch to a north, and that way the deer were like going to be above me, but the scent was coming. Like I would have had the scent, and so that morning I had the opportunity to go in there, but I was like, dude, the wind is not going to be right, and so I played off. I didn't see any deer that morning, and then that afternoon came in, got the job done. So
that's cool.
Yeah, because I was patient.
Yeah.
If I who knows what would have happened? The deer, I may have not seen a deer, or I may have bumped him, or he would have caught me. So,
no, that's cool. Yeah,
patience.
Yeah, that is a very good tactic, and one that you learn after you blow up enough situations.
It's funny because like I can do that in the woods, but at home my patience is a completely different story. So I can wait all day for a whitetail, but if my kids don't pick up their shoes off the stairs, I'll blow up. So.
What do you have on the docket for this year? Any hunts you're excited about?
So I mentioned I think I spread myself too thin this last year. I'm going to try to go to South Dakota again. But I think this is a year where if it doesn't happen, dude, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to try to do more throughout the course of the year. Like I want to go do a lot more fishing this year. I want to do turkey hunting, obviously. I want to maybe take advantages of some like closer to home type things. And one thing that I've neglected in the state of Iowa is two things. One, I usually go from a freezer standpoint. If I shoot this year, I shot $2 bucks. Okay, that's a good amount of freezer meat. But my kids eat a lot of deer meat, and so I'm thinking like, okay, what's the goal now? They love deer meat. It's I'm not necessarily cheaper than going and buying ground beef, but it's more fun to acquire, right? And so I feel like I'm not taking advantage of all the opportunities in Iowa that I should be, because I have an archery tag, I have a firearm tag, and I have damn near unlimited does in the state of Iowa. I can go and hunt at some place, right? And so, dude, I think I'm just gonna. There's a part of me that wants to just stay around Iowa and fill some tags.
I think that's a great idea. I think about doing something similar here in Wisconsin. I suffer from
FOMO,
a grass is greener sort of thing.
Yep.
Where I'm like, oh man, like we're talking about bear hunt, like, oh, if I don't spring bear hunt, I want to spring bear hunt. Oh, I want to archery elk hunt. I want to go here. I want to go back home and hunt blacktails. I want to go to Alaska and do this. I want to, and number one, it adds up. Yeah. And then I think, I want to waterfowl hunt more, things like that. I want to go back home to Washington, go steelhead fishing. I want to go to Alaska and fish for, there's a lot of things I want to do, Dan.
And this is coming from a guy who, dude, I'm sitting on, this summer I'll be buying my 11th elk preference point for Wyoming.
Oh, nice.
And 11th antelope point, and I believe 10 deer points.
Nice, yeah.
So I got that as a backup burner. I think the elk hunt for sure, that's going to be like a once in a lifetime deal for me. I don't want to say it's only one more elk hunt in my future, but I feel like when I cash those points in, I'm going to be doing something special for that particular hunt.
It's kind of your chance to you're like, man, this is my chance to get a big one. This is this is my chance to have a really high quality experience.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking for. Like for that, I'm just envisioning. I want to hear the bugles. I want to have the, I want to be in it, right? I want to have that video type, like a Primos type experience. Well, whether that happens or not, and how much money I have to spend on this experience is completely different. But, I want to make sure that when I do that, I'm going to go and I'll try to dedicate 2 straight weeks to filling that tag. My kids are going to be older, right? Hopefully I'm still in some decent shape to go try, jumping through the mountains or wherever these elk are living. And I'm hoping that my body will keep up with that. So I want that one to be special.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. And like you said, you want to have the time to give the hunt its due, and because you do have so much time and years and money invested in it, you want it to be a special experience that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. It's like, yeah, getting a big one is kind of like that North Star, but it's all those other things. It's like, man, like on most any elk hunt that if I see a legal bull, like we are going to try and get it. Like that is my goal. But on something like that, it's like, even if I got a really great opportunity that I might normally take any day of the week, do I want that? What if that comes on day 1?
Right. Right.
That changes on day 9 or 10.
Right. But. And so obviously, I'm a product of my environment, right? And so I am a whitetail hunter from Iowa who loves to go experience other things. I have this vision, and maybe this is the wrong way to look at it, is every time I look at my mounts or my skulls or my turkey feathers that are on the wall in my little man cave area, I instantly am reflected back to that moment. Yeah. I have these memories, right? And so nobody can see this, but
I think a lot of people think it's just like this bravado show off. People call it a trophy room. Like to me, I look at it and it's like a spark, and you're like, I remember that. I remember who I was with. I mean, you think of like what you remember day to day.
Yeah,
you can remember the particulars. Let's say a deer hunt. Like in detail.
It's stupid.
It could be 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I can't even remember if I put my shoes on the right feet some days. You know what I mean? But so right now I'm real heavy into mule deer. Like I love this mule deer. And I shot my very first mule deer this past year. And I'm so excited about it. But people can't see this, but behind us, right over here, there's a gigantic mule deer. I mean, a gigantic one sitting on this table. And if I shot something like that, I would be so happy that I would start focusing on other species. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I don't know if that makes me a trophy hunter, but what it would do is it would check a box as far as I'm envisioning what I want on my wall, and that's going to tell me a story of what I've accomplished. Mm-hmm. And so if I ever shoot a really big mule deer, I feel like I've accomplished something that I don't have the resources to go. Because if I lived in western South Dakota, western North Dakota, like anywhere with mule deer, I'd be more of a mule deer hunter in this time of my life. But again, Iowa doesn't have mule deer, so I have to travel. So that would have been checked off, and now I can go in and maybe focus more on elk or pronghorn or moose, or maybe trying to get to Alaska for like caribou. For some reason, ever since I was watching National Geographics with my dad when I was like 10 years old on Sunday nights, and they would have these stories about Alaska and Canada and the Arctic and things like that. I wanted to shoot a caribou before I was even a hunter.
Right.
And so I don't know why that animal.
They are just, they're cool.
Yeah.
Where they live is cool. They look cool. Yeah. They're neat animals. Yeah. I'm in the absolute same boat. And I'm like, it is very high on my to-do list someday. I don't know when, but I do want to make that happen.
Do you think there comes an end where, for certain hunters, and I don't know, like I'm obviously not there yet, but there comes an end. Maybe they've already walked the path that we've had, and they sit back and they look at their room and they go, I'm done. I've done it. Like, does that happen with serious hunters? Where
I think you can get to a place where I don't know, like you said, I'm certainly not there yet.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've done, let's say this guy's like, hey, dude, I've shot a ton of mule deer. I've shot a ton of whitetails. I've gone to Alaska. I've gone to, I don't, maybe he's an Africa guy. Maybe he goes to Africa. I've gone to Australia. I've gone to Pakistan for the sheep. You know, obviously all these are gigantic investments. But a guy has done these things, or his goal has always been, I want to shoot 10 deer that are over 170 or something like that. And he accomplishes that goal. Do you think there's a group of people out there that just, they sit and they go, I've done it, and then they go do something different? Or do they give back in a way? Like I've always pondered that.
It probably could go any number of ways, but I do think it probably goes back to, or could go back to, number one, like, yeah, I mean, if you've got a lot of, you know, for lack of a better term, and I have them myself, like boxes that you want to check. Like, I'm sure I'd love to hunt caribou every year. Right now, I'm working on doing it once in my life. But you're like, man, yeah, I did that. And maybe your bread and butter is whitetails, and you love hunting whitetails. But yeah, you can look back and go, yep, I did that. And in going back to that evolution of a hunter, it's like, okay, I did do a lot of these things. How do I pass this along? How do I give this to somebody else?
Right. I don't know, man. It's I'm hitting a time in my life where I'm just doing a lot more thinking. Like,
yeah.
I think
that's normal too.
I don't know why, but I'm thinking about everything. I'm thinking about my family. I'm thinking about hunts. I'm definitely thinking about how many years I have left. Yeah. I mean, if I live to 90, so like I turn 45 this year. If I live to 90, I'm halfway, right? Halfway. Maybe I'm a little past halfway.
But how many of those halfway years, you know, are you going on an elk hunt when you're 85?
Yeah, no.
Likely not.
Yeah. So from a hunting standpoint, maybe I only have 20 left, right? Where my knees and body are able to keep up with what, you know, I guess worst case scenario, I could always shoot a crossbow. But jab. So yeah, I mean, there's ways to extend it, but yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that stuff lately.
Yeah. Well, and going back to what we were talking about earlier, I never quite got to what I was saying. You know, I want to do the Alaska thing. I want to do. You plan all this, and then it's like, wait a minute. At least where we are here in Wisconsin, we are blessed with a lot of really great outdoor opportunity. In fact, if I deer hunted maybe a little bit less, I would engage in some of those outdoor activities a little bit more. Like I said, the whitetails have been a little bit hard on me these last couple of years. It's like, I want to duck hunt. I want to go do fall steelheading. I want to go grouse hunting, to the point where I've been considering, Dan, like, and I'm not like a big antler guy. Like if I see a 3-year-old deer, like, and I get a good crack at it, like I will be shooting.
Yeah.
but it's like, oh man, it's like I had a lot of opportunities at like 1.5-year-old bucks this year. And it's like an option. It's like, well, I could fill my tag and be happy. And oh man, I bow hunted and I got a buck with my bow, and we've got some meat in the freezer. And now I have time. I can go. It's like, do I want to chase bigger deer, which again for me isn't like I'm not chasing giants, or do I want to chase like volume of experiences? And I'm at
like a volume type. I get it.
Like,
yeah,
because it would open up the door. Like if you filled your tag, and there's no guarantees that you would do that earlier. But I think about that, like, oh man, what if I kill a 3-year-old buck in October? Oh man, now I can go do more grouse hunting. Now
so many more things.
I mean, all the things.
You know what? That's a great idea.
And if I'm not going on these out of state things,
I wonder what I would do in November if I filled my tag in early October. You know what I mean? That's a very interesting experiment I might try.
Because you have an option, right?
Right.
You could go on you could buy an adjacent, if
like
it's
I
not
could come
on
to
a draw.
Wisconsin over the counter.
Right. And hunt deer.
Yep.
Or you get yourself a dozen decoys and go try and kill some ducks.
Pheasant hunting, fall walleye fishing. Right? Like maybe I'll force myself to fill my tag this year, regardless of what it is, and then go try a new experience because I've cut myself off from what it is, knowing I have another tag for firearm season for my muzzleloader.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're still getting another deer.
You've sparked something there for me. Thank you. This is awesome.
Hey, we don't get there if we don't talk to these
Can you
things.
see someone here? We're a proponent of shooting young deer. We're just shoot young deer so you can go do something else.
I mean, it's not like, because I love to deer hunt. I mean, I think to my core, I am a deer hunter. I generally pick that above other things or other pursuits. But man, I do want to do those other pursuits. I don't know. There's only so much time. There's only so much money.
That's the thing, money. I just need to hit that jackpot, and then I'll go buy some Colorado ranch or Wyoming ranch, and then I'll be able to hunt mule deer, elk, and whitetails and turkeys all in the same ranch.
Well, when you do that, just remember the little people you met along the way.
Yep, you'll come out. You can come out. I'm sure I'll have some management animals.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Very cool, Dan. Well, hey, man, appreciate you coming out to visit with us.
100%.
It's
Love this place.
Always a pleasure. Always have a great time. I feel like this podcast is in some way parallels or is a metaphor a little bit for where we're at in our hunting lives,
yes.
Our life in general, this crazy windy path we call life.
Absolutely.
This podcast was a little bit of a crazy windy path, but a fun conversation, and always a good one.
Love it.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody for listening. Hopefully you thought this was a fun one. I know I did. And did we make you think a little bit more? What's your season going to look like this year? What's your path looked like? Did we see anything that made sense, that resonated?
Did you make us or make yourself hate us from what we said?
Are we insane?
Yeah, I know I am. I got too many kids.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
There you have it, folks. Thank you very much for listening. As usual, give this video a like if you liked it, comment something below, and give us a subscribe to the Vortex Nation podcast channel. It would mean a lot to us. Also, why don't you give us a follow over on Instagram while you're at it, at Vortex Nation Podcast. We'd love to hear from you over there, and we'll keep you updated with all kinds of cool photos and videos from our adventures that we do here. Otherwise, we will see you on the next one. Thank you again. Happy hunting and shooting, everybody. Have a good one.